Too late now.
Please, please, please.
Step through now, please.
Oh, no.
Too late now.
Here's the goods. You take them in false bottom bag, you strap them to your body, it's up to you.
Look, I've changed my mind. I want out.
Too late now.
So, you're offering me a free holiday?
Yeah,
I just have to bring back something for a friend of yours.
that's right. You get some serious cash.
Right.
Well,
Not too late. Don't get talked into trafficking drugs. Once you're in, the British government can't get you out. Don't throw your life away.
You can keep up to date with travel news and leave me a message at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. If there's any particular destination, city, country, whatever, or consumer advice based on holidays that you would like to know more about, please do let me know. facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show, and I'll get a guest on to explain it. Or there. But you know what I mean. This week my guest is David Gilmour. We're talking Central and South America. We've done the basics of Central America right at the very beginning and starting to investigate the countries in more depth. One question I had was that when you look at the map of Central America, you can see that some countries have a coast on the Pacific and the Atlantic/Caribbean side. So I wanted to know if there's much difference between the two coasts on the countries that do have two coasts in Central America.
Now that's a very good question. It's rather curious, but for quirky historical reasons, there are greater Spanish colonial and indigenous Indian influences on the Pacific side, and stronger British, African and West Indian influences on the Caribbean coast. Belize, for example, is formerly known as British Honduras.
Mm-hmm.
The Pacific is also much drier than the Caribbean.
Okay, I did not know that. I just assumed that all the weather would be coming in, it'd be wet, so it's drier. Yeah.
Well, you are in the tropics, and depending on the time of the year, there may be hurricanes. Hurricane season in the Caribbean is June to September, October, and occasionally the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, Honduras occasionally get hit by hurricanes there. But for the dry season, which is really from November, December through till March, April, the Caribbean side is much drier than the rest of the year. But the Pacific coast is beyond the hurricane belt and is much drier generally. What
tours do you offer in this region?
Mercator Travel is the parent company of Central and South America Revealed, and so mainly we're doing tailor-made and small group tours. For Central America, we like to think of it as the 3 R's and the ABC of travel. The 3 R's being reefs, ruins and rainforests, and ABC, adventure, beach and culture. And a lot of tours will either be single country or combinations. For example, a combination of Guatemala with Belize. Start off in Antigua, which has got colonial history and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, going across to Lake Atitlan, where they've got colourful markets and indigenous culture there, going across to the Tikal ruins of Guatemala for the Maya culture, and then on to San Ignacio in Belize, which is a bit of adventure with cave tubing, and then on for a few days of relaxation on something like Ambergris Key. Another example would be a single trip to Costa Rica, starting off in San Jose, the capital, going over to Sarapiquí and Tortuguero on the Caribbean coast for wildlife, then over to Arenal, which is a volcano, which has been continually erupting since 1968, and you can see the lava flows particularly at night. Then on to the Monteverde cloud forest, and then perhaps a few days of beach and relaxation at Manuel Antonio.
So I'm just trying to picture all that in my head as you're describing it. So that's my list is just getting longer and longer. But
well, I'm sorry about that.
If you had 10 days, which of your trips would you choose and why?
Very difficult question. I'm passionate about colonial history and indigenous culture and colourful markets and ancient ruins, but I'm not really a beach person. So for me, somewhere like Guatemala is particularly good, or Peru.
Peru, okay. For a more relaxing holiday, which tour would you recommend for a honeymoon?
Ooh, Mexico is very popular for honeymoons, following a trip from Mexico City across to Oaxaca, Spanish colonial city, onto Palenque for a bit of the introduction into the Mayan ruins, and then on for rest and relaxation down at the Riviera Maya. Costa Rica is probably the most popular country for honeymoons in Central America. In South America, it has to be Brazil or Peru.
Checking it out before you check in on the John Guinn Travel Show on ukhealthradio.com. However, at the moment, I'm still continuing my conversation with David Gilmour. We've covered the highlights of Central America, how to get there, and visas and jabs and stuff. We're now moving further south, and we'll start looking at South America. And the first country I wanted to know about was Colombia. And I'm sure when you hear the word Colombia, something comes into your head. But obviously, there's far more to the place than what you're probably thinking about. And David's going to start going through one or two of them.
Well, Bogota itself is the capital. It's a mix of old and new, trendy and traditional. Got a good range of colonial mansions, churches, and impressive public buildings. The Gold Museum there is particularly notable. An extraordinary place to visit in Colombia is a church built within a salt mine at Zipaquirá. It's about 2 hours from Bogota, and it's rightly regarded, I suppose, as one of the marvels of Colombia. And we usually stop there on the way to a fantastic colonial city called Villa de Leyva. Going up to the north, you've got a place called Tayrona National Park, which is covered by virgin tropical forest, home to a fantastic array of wildlife. I think it's got over 200 species of birds, various types of monkey, sloths, and goodness knows how many types of reptiles. There are also jungle trails for wildlife spotting and paths that link the various palm-fringed beaches. But the jewel, if you like, in the Colombian crown has to be Cartagena. It's a walled city which was used by the Spanish to ship gold, silver, and goods back to Spain, and consequently became the richest city in the Americas. But where there's gold, there are pirates, and Cartagena was frequently targeted by the foreign powers, including the French, Dutch, and British. In the 18th century, it was defended by attack from the British under a chap called Admiral Vernon. In charge of the defence of Cartagena was a Basque admiral. He's one of my great heroes. He's called Blas de Leso. He had one eye, one arm, and one leg, and he successfully defended Cartagena from attack by Admiral Vernon.
Was his nickname Lucky? With only one eye, one arm, one leg?
Well, in fact, he was a veteran of 23 different campaigns. He lost his leg, I think, in Malaga, and I think he lost his arm, or it might have been his eye, at Gibraltar when Spain lost Gibraltar to the British.
Yes, he's definitely a hard man, I think.
I mean, it was an extraordinary occasion. In that battle, in fact, Admiral Vernon had something like 28,000 men and 186 boats. It was the biggest naval deployment of its era, and was only superseded by D-Day 200 years later. Blas de Leso had something like 3,000 men under his command and 6 boats.
Wow. It's difficult to imagine that, isn't it?
Quite extraordinary. The first thing he did, actually, was to sink his own boats in the harbour. The reason for that is that stopped the British from being able to approach.
Yeah, I think I would have been running, not too busy thinking about what I'm going to do with the boats. I'd just be gone, be in the jungle hiding somewhere, but that's just me.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah. Moving on to a different country, is it easy to combine Angel Falls in Venezuela with a beach holiday?
It's actually probably much easier than you might think. The archipelago of Los Roques consists of about 300 islands and make for a fantastic beach holiday. And from there, you can fly to Caracas and then over the Angel Falls as a day trip.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to stay longer, then it's always a good idea to stay at a lodge in Canaima National Park for a day or two, which is lovely.
Now, Machu Picchu, I think I got that right. Who knows? I've heard that there's a lot of walking and using bushes as toilets when you go and see it. Is that true?
Well, Machu Picchu is arguably the most important archaeological site in the whole of the Americas.
Mm-hmm.
What you're referring to is the Inca Trail, which is a 4-day, 3-night hike of 26 miles in the Andes. So 3 nights or possibly 4 nights camping. Over the last few years, they have improved the facilities and the infrastructure so that there are now new flushing lavatories along the way and at all the major campsites. That's helped to improve the sanitary conditions enormously, although it has to be said that conditions are still not quite perfect. But in order to get to Machu Picchu, you don't have to hike the Inca Trail. There are trains from Cusco and from the Sacred Valley of the Incas. There's also a top-end luxury train called the Hiram Bingham Service, which was named after the archaeologist who rediscovered Machu Picchu in 1911. I've been lucky enough to have been to Machu Picchu, I think, 12 times in the last 28 years. I've done the Inca Trail on various occasions. I've taken the train, and however way you get there, it's always great fun.
My wife's the sort of person who gets upset there's not a minibar, so I don't think we'll be doing the trail. We'll be doing it by train.
Absolutely. My days, I think, of walking Inca Trail are probably over. Yeah, I'm much more inclined, if I can, to take the luxury train nowadays.
Is there anything else to do in Peru?
Well, we just mentioned Cusco, which was the capital of the Inca Empire. It's built in the Spanish colonial style upon Inca walls and foundations. Cusco's full of bars and restaurants and clubs and craft shops and cafes, and it's a fantastic place to spend a few days acclimatizing to the altitude. You're at 3,200 meters above sea level. Incidentally, in the cathedral there, they've got a painting of the Last Supper depicting Christ and his disciples tucking into that well-known Peruvian delicacy of guinea pig. Other sites in Peru, we would recommend the markets and the villages of the Sacred Valley of the Incas, Lake Titicaca, the Nazca Lines. We have those funny drawings in the desert. The Amazon rainforest, 2/3 of Peru is actually in the Amazon basin, and travelers often like to spend 3 or 4 days at a jungle lodge, using the lodge as a base from which to explore the surrounding rainforest. Arequipa is another attractive colonial city and is the gateway to the Colca Canyon, which has got fantastic Inca terracing and is known for sightings of condors. In the north of Peru, there have been some important archaeological discoveries in the last few years, and this area is really beginning to open up to visitors. So it makes, again, for a very interesting experience.
Hey Dave, it's your round, mate.
Yeah, my throat's drier than the Gobi Desert.
All right. Beers all round, yeah? OK, which one of you jokers has got my wallet?
Well, I haven't got it. God, he'll do anything to save a few quid.
Yeah, that's right. He's always had short arms and long pockets.